So hello guys, in today's video we will be studying section 74 of the Indian Penal Code that talks about limits of solitary confinement. And basically, as we read in the section 73 in the last video, that solitary confinement is the punishment that is given to an offender in the case of rigorous imprisonment only, and the punishment of solitary confinement is given during the part of the rigorous imprisonment as a whole. Some part of that only is given as solitary confinement, and the maximum limit, that is, it cannot exceed 3 months in any of the circumstances. And we know that solitary confinement punishment is given in parts. Whole punishment cannot be given as a whole, because as we all know, solitary confinement, the offender is kept in an isolated chamber or an isolated cell where he has no link with the external environment, no human interaction, and he do not know about the time outside and everything. He's just isolated and he just talks to himself. So there are many chances that the person could get mentally disturbed, and this could lead to serious problems with him. So the punishment of the solitary confinement is given in parts, not as a whole together. So in section 74 we will be studying about that how and for what duration it can be given. So let's read it out. Section 74, limit of solitary confinement. In executing a sentence of solitary confinement, such confinement shall in no case exceed 14 days at a time, with intervals between the period of solitary confinement of not less duration than such periods. So we'll divide the section in two parts, and first part I read till yet. So here I will explain the meaning of these lines first. So if the rigorous imprisonment is given to the offender, that is within 3 months or 3 months, 3 months or less than 3 months, right? So in that circumstances, when the punishment of solitary confinement will be given to that person, then it cannot exceed 14 days. It cannot exceed 14 days. It can be less than 14 days or 14 days, but it cannot exceed 14 days. That is up to 14 days. And one more thing, that after the completion of the punishment of solitary confinement, the next punishment for solitary confinement cannot be given directly. There should be a gap of that much days for what period he got the punishment of solitary confinement. For example, an offender got the punishment of solitary confinement for 14 days, right? So after the completion of 14 days, he will not get directly the another round punishment. 14 days gap will be given up, and then after those 14 days gap, he will be again punished with the solitary confinement punishment. So if the punishment started on the first day of that month, and it ended up at the 14th, right? So after that 14 days gap will be given. That is 14 days, you can say, for relaxation, or 14 days holiday to that to the person who is the offender, because this could lead to serious mental issues, and mental disorder could be there in that person. And this punishment is basically very harsh, where he is kept alone and he talks to himself, and this could seriously lead to some kind of issues to that person, mental issues. And so that's why this period is kept. So if the punishment is given to him, which is 3 months or less than 3 months, right? So up to 3 months punishment, that is rigorous imprisonment. 3 months or less than 3 months rigorous imprisonment is given. Then in those circumstances, when the solitary confinement punishment will be given to that person, that will not exceed 14 days. That can be maximum 14 days. Yeah, it's on the court's discretion that they can give the punishment of 8 days, 7 days, but it cannot exceed 14 days. And for the time period, for the days, how many days that are less than 14 days, so for how many days he's sentenced to that solitary confinement punishment, for that much days only there will be a gap before the starting of next solitary confinement. Okay, so it is, I said, less than 14 days, 14 days or less than 14 days. So if it is for 8 days, if he got 8 days solitary confinement punishment, and after the completion of 8 days there will be a 8 days gap, so that the next punishment would start after those 8 days, right? So this was the meaning of the first part that I read. Then next I will be reading and explain. And when the imprisonment awarded shall exceed 3 months, the solitary confinement shall not exceed 7 days in any any 1 month of the whole imprisonment awarded with intervals between the periods of solitary confinement of not less duration than such periods. So this paragraph, this basically means that whenever the offender got the punishment, that the rigorous imprisonment punishment, the main punishment, for more than 3 months, okay, for more than 3 months when he is getting the rigorous imprisonment, so in that circumstances, when he will be getting, when he will be sentenced to solitary confinement punishment, then the maximum limit is 7 days. It cannot exceed 7 days, and only once in a month 7 days, only once in a month 7 days he will be punished, and for that month only. And same thing here also applies, as we read that there should be a gap of that much days for how many days he got that punishment before the starting of next punishment, or next part of that solitary confinement punishment. As we all know that the entire solitary confinement punishment cannot be given whole together, right? So as we read here, I'll read it again, that and when the imprisonment awarded shall exceed 3 months, the solitary confinement shall not exceed 7 days in any month of the whole imprisonment awarded. It shall not exceed 7 days. It can be less than 7 days, but not exceed 7 days. This is the case when the punishment is given more than 3 months, right? The rigorous imprisonment punishment is given more than 3 months. So solitary confinement shall not exceed 7 days in any 1 month of the whole imprisonment awarded. So it will be given only in the 1 month, in that 1 month period only. I mean to say, in a particular month only 7 days. So it is saying that shall not exceed 7 days in any month of the whole imprisonment awarded. The whole imprisonment, for example, he's awarded the punishment, rigorous imprisonment punishment for 3 years. So if he's sentenced to the solitary confinement punishment in between, then it cannot exceed 7 days in a particular month. Okay, so this is the meaning. And 7 days in any month of the whole imprisonment awarded, with intervals between the period of there will be an interval, there will be intervals, as we studied above in the above paragraph. There will be intervals between that, between the periods of solitary confinement of not less duration than such period. So for whatever days he is getting the solitary confinement punishment, for that much time he will be getting a spare time, he will get some free time for that much time only. So here we read that in a particular month only 7 days. So if it can apply that if the solitary confinement is given in the end 7 days of that month, so the next month will begin, and they'll say in 1 month only 7 days or less than 7 days solitary confinement can be given punishment. So this states that in a particular month, if in the particular month's end the solitary confinement punishment is given, then in the next month when it will begin, so before the starting of the new solitary confinement punishment, there will be a gap of that much days. So I hope you guys understood this section 74 of the Indian Penal Code, and I tried to speak in English so that I could also improve my communication skills. So yeah, I'll improve it more, and I hope you guys understood it well. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye, see ya, and subscribe करो, हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ।